Now recording, Craig. Good evening, Craig. On a fine evening of a Monday. Don't really record on Mondays usually. It's normally I do or we do Sundays. Uh but I was tired as shit yesterday. I'm also tired right now. However, I have beaten a game and I just wanted to talk about it. So, how's everyone doing? Um Hope your weekend was good with Mother's Day and everything like that. I hope you were able to celebrate with them. So shout out to all the wonderful moms, including my beautiful wife, and we were able to just chill, celebrate her, and then for my mother as well. Shout out to her and happy birthday. So yeah, tonight I kind of just wanted to talk about a game that I literally just beat in MixTape. There's been a lot of talk on the intrawebs about this game. Um, and you know, I obviously I'm not exactly playing a lot. I think I've talked about it in probably the last 2 or 3 episodes, but I've kind of not set aside Pokemon Fire Red, but for the most part, I've done what I wanted to do in that game until Pokemon Home comes and I can get all the Pokemon and shit like that. So had a wonderful time with it. But then kind of waiting on Black Hammer to come back so we can do the Grounded 2 update, and then did start back playing Warhammer Darkness Tides of Darkness with Jordan and Kiwi, which is awesome. Gonna try to play a little bit more tomorrow. So I don't necessarily, once again, have anything that's on my mind. And MixTape came out on the 7th of May, and it is on Game Pass. I own Game Pass, and I figured I looked up how long it would take to beat it, and it's pretty short, so I figured I would give it a go. Cause I'm someone who loves music in games, and it can definitely enhance your experience with games. But I've never played a game like this per se, where it literally is built around a mixtape, uh, a cassette. You know, for anyone who knows what that is, depending on your generation, and a soundtrack. It's just the story. It's the music is essential to this game, and I'll talk about kind of why I think that's the biggest piece of the game. Because without it, I do not think this is a game. So, um, right now, let me get to it. We'll go to Metacritic. Let's MixTape has a 85 on Metacritic, the meta score, which is the critic reviews, and then has a 6.6 for user score. So, as you can tell, there's a pretty big, not pretty big, but there's definitely a difference in what critics thought of the game versus people, just your normal ass person playing the game. And I think I get both sides. But the biggest controversy I see around the game is defining what a video game is. And I think there's a lot of components to a video game. And this style of video game can only be liked like they're going to think it's great by someone who truly digs just a straight up adventure. They're not looking for action, even though it says it's a no, it's not, it says it's an adventure game. So, like, if you're looking for any form of combat, any form of really exploration, even though it says adventure game, that is not here in this game. Whether you're playing on keyboard or controller, I played on keyboard because I couldn't get my controller to work. You're just essentially following the QTEs that pop up in the game, and there's no real consequence to them. It's very hands on the rails type of game where you can't necessarily mess anything up. And I think that's where a lot of people are trying to define what you would classify as a video game. However, I think video games can be streamlined to just telling a story. If done right, with great writing, great sound effects, ambiance, and in this case, music. And it's literally built around music. I think it had a wonderful soundtrack to it. Essentially, just starting from the top, it's a coming of age story. These 3 teenagers in California are spending their last night together, essentially, before they go off to the world, adult. And it's about the like growing up in the 90s, and I was thinking about that too. What do you truly consider yourself of for like a decade of how you grew up? Like for myself, I was born in the very early of 90s, so I would consider myself a 90s kid because I got to experience the later half and actually remember it and things. However, if you were born in the middle of the 90s, technically you are a 90s kid, baby, or whatever, but you didn't necessarily get to experience it. So, like, this one, they're teenagers, I think, when does it actually, when does MixTape take place? It's mid to late 90s. So, like, they understand what's happening. They got to experience the late 80s, but the mainly was them in their teenage years and, getting to grow up in the 90s. So, but yeah, the soundtrack was wonderful. There was a lot of music that I'm not going to say that I've never heard of, but I've probably heard of them in some passing. But it seems like not a lot of it is like, I guess you would consider mainstream to 90s kids and whatnot. You would have to like kind of dig into those particular artists' albums and stuff. But the only couple that I did know was like Iggy Pop and Smashing Pumpkins. So yeah, overall, like the music, the soundtrack was phenomenal. But yeah, it's 3 teenagers trying to do their final night of high school together before the main chick, who is Stacey Rockford. She is going off to pursue to become something in the music industry up to New York. So she's created a playlist for every scenario that they're going to go through. And it's just, about building every single moment and curating each of those songs to those moments. And I think it done a wonderful job of that. Like I said, there's certain games that I play that I don't necessarily listen to the music. Like, Call of Duty, those are more sounds and things like that. But say, like last year with Clear Obscure for me, to this day, I still just boot up the game and just let it play because the music is just phenomenal, and it resonates with you. So I think that's what they were trying to go for with this game in particular, trying to grab the nostalgia essentially of the 90s kids, the late 80s kids, and these kids they're punk. They want to consider themselves punk rebels, skaters, things like that. So I think they were really trying to grab those individuals, and I think for me, like I said, it I did like it a lot for the music. It's just the gameplay was not what I would prefer, the style that I would prefer. Um, I'm definitely down for like a narrative story game mixed in with the music and things like that, but there needs to be at least some kind of interactivity in my opinion. It's literally a 3-hour game. So I think they can get away with it in this aspect, because anything more than that, you would get so bored. I don't care if you put the top 100 music tracks of all time on this, and like it was perfect for every single moment. If it would work, a lot of people would fall off. But luckily, at a 3-hour period to complete, you can keep their attention enough. And it does help. Like I said, I played on Game Pass, so that was a big reason, because this is not for a 3-hour experience, and I think no replayability as far as I could tell. It is not worth $20. And that's probably another thing with the scores should be taken into consideration. If you're a critic, I'm sure you were given codes, so that's a free $20 that you don't have to pay. And if you're not paying for a Game Pass, depends on which tier you're paying at. Like for myself, paying for Ultimate, that's $22. That's more than what the game costs, and it's even then, like it's not worth it. So I think critics don't take that into consideration, because it's not necessarily they do, sorry, they do in some fashion, but I'm not sure if they would. I don't think I would be able to believe them if they were able to say that this is worth $20. That's just no. Clear Obscure is $50, and I've spent nearly 100 hours in. So that game is worth it. 1,000%. So I'm in, like, this is technically an indie. I truly think if it was like 10-ish, maybe. But if it's not if you're not playing it on Game Pass, I could not recommend that to anyone. To a game that you could beat in 3 hours, unless it truly hooks you from a nostalgia point and it gets you thinking. I don't know. It did not gravitate to me on that level. So, but other than the money, I guess you would say, the biggest controversy I think a lot of people are having is, once again, like the critic versus the user score of defining what the video game is. And I don't know how other individuals base their thoughts on what game they're gonna next game they're gonna purchase if they don't have Game Pass or like PlayStation Plus or Nintendo Switch Online or anything like that. If they're only going to buy a few games a year, how they actually determine, you know, which ones that they're going to end up buying. So, um, but yeah, I think the characters were good. Like I said, they're teenagers, rebels in a sense, and they're trying to figure out life, where to go next. Because if you were the person in high school moving on, and you hated your high school years, then maybe this does resonate with you. So I could see that. I still can't agree with the price tag on it. So, um, I think one of the biggest controversies is obviously IGN, a a big website that if you play any type of video games and you keep up with any video game journalism in some fashion, you know who IGN is. And they gave this game a 10. I'm not saying that this game can't be a 10 to some person, some people, but I think everything needs to be taken into consideration. Because, and IGN's been getting a lot of slack, hate, whatever you want to call it, for several years because of the scores that they give. And they're a big company, so they don't have necessarily just like one person reviewing every single game. So, and each their own. This is all my opinion. Obviously, people could disagree with it, agree with it, whatever. There's just a lot of, it feels like, hate on this game if you are not an actual critic and just judging it on what's inside the game, not what you're actually doing and the music and things like that. So I don't know, but overall, I mean, for myself, for 3 hours, I completed like 3.2, and some of that was just me messing with my phone while the things played. I thought it was okay. I would say it's anywhere from a 7 to 8. Maybe in between that. The soundtrack carries it. Um, and I do have nostalgia for the 90s, but I was never a skater or anything like that. I was never a rebel, a punk person. So that it doesn't speak to me on that. Maybe the coming of age would, because I heard someone compare it to like a Ferris Bueller. And if you're, when did Ferris Bueller, was it 80? 1986. So if you're an 80s kid, you know that movie, and it's a wonderful coming of age, because no one truly prepares you for life after high school. The education system is just there to teach you nonsensical school stuff to keep you busy for those, whatever it is, 7-8 hours, and they don't teach you about real life situations. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't schools necessarily that don't do that or do that, but it just feels like majority of them are just there to give you learn your science, your math, and things like that, and then you just move on. And then once you graduate, from an older generation would tell you, well, I hope you got your everything lined up to go to college and stuff like that. So if that connected with you, maybe this game is your your vibe. So, uh, yeah, I mean, short game. I'm glad I experienced it in some way, and I could see both aspects of the critics. I still have to listen to the other podcasts that I listen to, kind of funny games. I need to listen to their actual review. I got the short version of it, but I want to see the reasoning why they gave each one, because I think they have a big enough age gap in their panel of reviewers that maybe I could see why the older ones gave it a better score than the younger guys. So, but yeah, just honestly wanted to hop on and talk about the game. You know, it's something that I can at least say that I don't regret the time that I played. Because, like, there's plenty of games that I forced myself through um, to play, obviously, Call of Duty. So, I think these 3 hours were enough for me and worth it for me to look at it and just be like, okay, I'm glad. I'm glad I played it. It's there. It's there in my memories. I can think about it. And maybe I go through the soundtrack and just add those songs to my playlist, honestly, because I am someone who loves a variety, a wide range of music types. So, and the older generation music is one of that I tend to gravitate towards in some fashion. So, but yeah, and then just to end it there. So, like I said, 7-8, probably 7.5 on the score. If you got Game Pass, maybe give it a try. If you can beat it in one night. Just stick with it. Just see what everybody's talking about. I think it's okay. $20, probably not so. And then I did try a demo of a game called Soul Quest. So, Soul Quest, it actually released on May 1st. I had it on my wish list to keep up with it because I also saw them kind of funny, and it looked interesting. It's what is how to describe Soul Quest? How to describe? Wait, I guess I can just go to Steam. Let's see. Currently, it has very positive on Steam on the reviews, but it's a character action game, hack and slash spectacle fighter. And the Steam description is as follows: carve your path through hordes of enemies, defying the gods to seize the power of Morrigan, goddess of death, and retrieve the soul of your beloved. Soul Quest combines amazing gameplay with a unique Celtic mythology into one action-packed mixture. So, for me, I do not necessarily anymore, but I do like hack and slash for the most part, and I love a good mythology. Celtic is one I've never necessarily dove into. It's mainly been like Greek or for God of War 2018 and stuff with the Norse. And I've played Age of Mythology, not all of it, but I played enough of it to find out that for the most part, all mythologies are cool. So I thought I would like this one, and I ended up playing the demo for a little bit. It was pretty neat. It was hard as shit. So right now it's, like I said, it released on May 1st. The music is also wonderful. I guess it's got the Celtic vibe, but it's on sale until the 15th. I think I am going to buy it. just because it seems interesting, and I necessarily don't have anything else to play. So, if I do buy it and play it, I will do a review on it. I know I'm not the best coherent person when it comes to keeping anything in line of me talking. I just simply ramble. So, if you don't like that, you can move on to the next podcast because I'm sure there's plenty of them. However, if you do want to listen, please continue to listen. Give us feedback. I don't care if you tell us we suck. It would be wonderful if we ever actually got a comment besides the individuals that I know and are on the podcast. Just to see and it not be AI or a bot or anything like that. That'd be cool. So, shout out to Shadow Raid Legends if you want to sponsor us ever. Hit us up with the email spatchy23@gmail.com. Our review. I'm sure we can work out a deal, even if you send us air. I don't know, something. We're obviously not big here, so it'd be cool though. Maybe Warframe. That'd be a cool sponsor. I really want to come out? Light No Fire. It's the people who made No Man's Sky, Hello Games, and this looks so amazing. I truly want it to come out. I don't care if it's early access, just like No Man's Sky was. Well, was No Man's Sky early access? Well, it definitely wasn't complete when it come out. So regardless, if it come out early access, I'm down to play this. This looks like something I could sink my teeth in. Like I'm loving Grounded 2, but I'm kind of waiting on Black Hammer to get on whenever he's not playing Arc Raiders. But this, I could just see myself in there. It's got building, just exploration. The world is massive. So I love a good survival open world sandbox. And Light No Fire seems like it's, a little ambitious to say the least. Like it's like Crimson Desert level ambitious. However, Crimson Desert has had success, and I think Hello Games has learned from No Man's Sky. It's been one of the best supported games for years now. So I don't see why that they couldn't do it into this world. So I hope they come out this year. I'm still looking forward to Dust Fade as well. And then, Dino Blade. I need that to come out. And then I need to, Kenna, I want to beat that, the first one, before the second one comes out this year. So, but yeah, it's kind of what I'm doing right now. Mainly just wanted to talk about MixTape. It was a cool vibe. I dig it. I understand both sides, I think. So, thank you for listening. And remember, you can continue to believe us. If you don't, peace.